The crystalline spires of Velcara Prime pierced the violet sky like shards of frozen starlight. Within the obsidian palace, Queen Lysandra stood before the council of matriarchs, her 4 arms folded in a gesture of absolute authority. Her daughter, Princess Elsa, knelt on the cold floor, her silvery hair cascading over shoulders that trembled with suppressed emotion. "The decision is final," Lysandra's voice echoed through the chamber, each word carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. "You will marry the human." Elsa's violet eyes, so unlike her mother's fierce amber, lifted in desperate plea. "Mother, please, I'm not strong enough for this. Send Verena. Send anyone but me." The queen's expression hardened. "That is precisely why it must be you. You are weak, Elsa. Your psionic rating barely reaches level 3. You cannot interface with the battle nexus. You faint at the sight of combat simulations." She gestured dismissively. "At least in this diplomatic marriage, your weakness serves a purpose." The human delegation had arrived 3 cycles ago with an offer the Velcaran Empire couldn't refuse: access to their revolutionary quantum-fold technology in exchange for a formal alliance sealed through marriage. The humans had specifically requested a member of the royal bloodline. They didn't specify which one. Lysandra had chosen Elsa without hesitation. The human ship Perseverance hung in orbit like a gray cathedral of metal and purpose. Elsa stood in the docking bay, her ceremonial robes doing little to warm the cold dread in her chest. Around her, the royal guards maintained their positions, their thoughts a cacophony of pity and disdain that her weak telepathy couldn't shut out. The weak princess, sent away like damaged goods, at least she's useful for something. The airlock hissed open. A single human emerged. Kievan was ordinary, at least by the standards Elsa had been taught. He stood barely taller than her, with dark hair and eyes that held an unsettling steadiness. Humans, she had learned, possessed no psionic abilities whatsoever, no telepathy, no telekinesis, no energy manipulation. They were evolutionary dead ends who had somehow stumbled into advanced technology through crude trial and error. And yet this human walked toward her with neither fear nor arrogance, just a quiet confidence that made her uncertain. "Princess Elsa," he said, bowing with what her cultural briefings told her was appropriate respect. "I'm Kievan Tors, chief engineer of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. It's an honor to meet you." Engineer, the word slipped out before Elsa could stop it. She had expected a warrior or at least a diplomat. A slight smile touched his lips. "Disappointed. I'm afraid humans don't have princes to spare, just regular people doing important work." Before Elsa could respond, her mother's voice cut through the bay. "The human understands his place." "Good." Lysandra approached, her presence filling the space like a gravitational field. "You will take my daughter and honor the terms of our alliance. In exchange, you receive what you requested: a royal bloodline connection and full access to our psionic research databases." Kievan's expression didn't change, but Elsa felt something shift in the air around him, a quality she couldn't quite name with her limited abilities. "With respect, Your Majesty, I'm not taking anyone. Princess Elsa and I will be partners, equals." The silence that followed could have frozen fusion plasma. Lysandra's laugh was cold and sharp. "Equals, she is Velcaran royalty. You are human, psionically null, technologically inferior until recently, barely evolved beyond your primitive origins." She turned her gaze to Elsa. "You see, daughter, this is the level of understanding you will deal with. Try not to embarrass us more than necessary." The Perseverance was nothing like the elegant bioships of the Velcaran fleet. It was all straight lines and practical design, built for function rather than beauty. Elsa's quarters were comfortable but stark. No psionic resonance chambers, no meditation crystals, no familiar comforts. She sat on the edge of the bed, fighting back tears, when a knock came at the door. "May I come in?" Kievan's voice was gentle. "It's your ship," Elsa replied, not bothering to hide her bitterness. He entered carrying a small box. "Actually, these are your quarters, your space. I just wanted to bring you something." He set the box on the table. "There's a garden and habitat ring. See, real soil, real plants. We maintain it for morale on long voyages. I thought maybe some samples might help your quarters feel less industrial." Elsa stared at the box, then at him. "Why? Why what? Why would you care about my comfort? You have your alliance. You have access to the psionic databases. I'm just part of the transaction." Kevin pulled up a chair and sat down, maintaining a respectful distance. "Can I tell you something about humans, Elsa? We're stubborn. Impossibly, irrationally stubborn. We're born on a world that tried to kill us with weather, predators, diseases, and natural disasters. We had no claws, no venom, no natural armor. We were slow and weak compared to most of Earth's predators." "I know this," Elsa said quietly. "You survived through intelligence." "Partially," Kevin agreed, "but mostly through cooperation. We figured out that alone we were weak. Together we could accomplish anything. That's why I'm here, not to collect a wife like a prize, but to build a partnership with someone I respect." "Respect?" Elsa's laugh was bitter. "You don't know me, and what you'll learn won't inspire respect. I'm the weakest of my sisters. I can barely lift objects with telekinesis. My telepathy is so limited I can't even shield against ambient thoughts. I failed every combat assessment. My mother sent me because I was useless to her." Kevin was quiet for a moment. "Can I show you something?" He pulled out a small hollow projector. An image materialized. The Perseverance under construction in orbital shipyards, surrounded by thousands of smaller vessels and construction drones. "This ship," Kevin said, "carries a crew of 3,000. It took 40,000 people 5 years to build. The quantum fold drive you see here," he highlighted a section. "Designed by Dr. Sarah Chen. She has severe cerebral palsy and does all her work through neural interface because her body doesn't cooperate with her brilliant mind." Another image appeared, complex mathematical equations flowing across a display. Navigation protocols designed by Marcus Webb, blind from birth. He experiences space mathematically in ways sighted people can't conceptualize. More images followed, each with a story. "Our head of xenobiology uses a wheelchair. Our chief medical officer has chronic pain that would disable most people. Our communications expert is autistic and finds social interaction overwhelming, but can detect patterns in signal noise that our computers miss." Elsa watched, confused. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because humans learned something important," Kevin said. "Weakness and strength aren't opposites. They're just different contexts. Your mother sees you as weak because you can't fight, but I looked at your records, the ones your government sent as part of the marriage dossier." He pulled up a data file. "You have master's-level expertise in xenobiology, cultural anthropology, and conflict resolution. You've mediated 17 interclan disputes. You created a psionic therapy technique that's helped hundreds of soldiers recover from combat trauma." He met her eyes. "Your mother sent you because she thought you were useless. I requested someone from the royal family because I wanted a partner who understood diplomacy, culture, and healing. The universe gave me exactly who I needed." The first month aboard the Perseverance was difficult. Elsa struggled with the absence of psionic background noise she'd lived with her entire life. The humans' minds were silent to her telepathy, utterly blank in a way that was both relieving and isolating. But Kevin was patient. He introduced her to his work, explained the quantum fold technology in detail, and listened when she offered insights from Velkaran's psionic theory. To her surprise, several of her observations led to breakthroughs in drive efficiency. "You realize what you just did," Kevin said one evening in the engineering lab, staring at the simulation results. "You increased our fold efficiency by 12%. Do you know how many light years that adds to our range?" Elsa looked at the numbers, uncertain. I noticed the harmonic resonance patterns matched psionic wave structures. It seemed obvious. To you, Kevin said, his excitement palpable, because you've spent your life studying something we barely understand. This is partnership, Elsa, your knowledge and ours together. 6 months into their marriage, still largely ceremonial and unconsummated by mutual unspoken agreement, the crisis came. The Velkuran Empire made first contact with the Kresh Collective, a hive-mind species whose neural frequencies caused agonizing interference with Velkuran psionic abilities. Within days, border conflicts erupted. Velkuran ships, dependent on psionic interface systems, found themselves crippled near Kresh vessels. Queen Lysandra's message to the Perseverance was curt: return immediately with all human defensive technology. The Alliance demands it. Kevin read the message, then looked at Elsa. What do you want to do? She blinked. What I want. Your Velkuran royalty and my wife. This affects both our peoples. What do you think we should do? Elsa considered. The Kresh aren't attacking. They're defending territory they've occupied for centuries. My mother sees it as weakness to negotiate, but the Kresh just want to be left alone. So someone needs to mediate, someone who isn't affected by the neural interference. She met his eyes. Someone like me, barely psionic enough that the Kresh frequencies won't overwhelm me. Kevin nodded slowly. And you'd need someone with no psionic ability at all as backup. It would be dangerous. Most worthwhile things are. The negotiation took place on a neutral station, with Elsa serving as primary mediator and Kevin as technical advisor. The Kresh were horrified to learn they were causing pain. Their frequency emissions were simply normal communication for them. Elsa, drawing on her conflict resolution training and her unique ability to function despite the neural interference, worked for 3 weeks straight. She proposed a buffer zone monitored by human ships, unaffected by Kresh frequencies, and helped design psionic dampening technology that would protect Velkuran vessels near Kresh space. The agreement prevented a war. Queen Lysandra's response was transmitted system-wide. Princess Elsa has secured peace with the Kresh Collective. She is hereby recognized as Crown Diplomatic Envoy. In private communications, Lysandra was less formal. Return home, your value has been reassessed. Elsa stood in the observation deck of the Perseverance, staring at the stars, Kevin's message tablet still in her hand. Are you going back? Kevin asked, joining her. She wants me to return, to take a position in the diplomatic corps. Elsa's voice was soft. Everything I thought I wanted, recognition, value in her eyes, a place in the empire. But I've learned something these past months. She turned to him. Strength isn't what my mother thinks it is. It isn't domination or raw power. It's knowing your capabilities and using them where they matter most. It's partnership. It's the stubborn human refusal to give up when the universe says you're not enough. She stepped closer. You gave me something I never had on Velkara, the freedom to be exactly who I am, without apologizing for what I'm not. Kevin smiled. So what do you want to do? I want to stay here, with you, building something new, a real alliance between our peoples. One based on mutual respect, not just technological exchange. She paused. If you'll have me, as a real partner, not just a diplomatic arrangement. Elsa, Kevin said gently, taking her hands. I've been waiting for you to choose that, not because I forced it, but because you wanted it. Their kiss was tentative at first, then deeper, a promise of partnership, of equals choosing each other freely. 5 years later, the Velkuran-Human Alliance had grown into something unprecedented. Joint research stations produced breakthroughs neither species could have achieved alone. Psionic-human hybrid ships combined the best of both technologies, and at the center of it all, the diplomatic corps, founded and led by Elsa Torres, mediated conflicts across a dozen species. Queen Lysandra attended the dedication ceremony for the new Interspecies Council headquarters. She watched her daughter, no longer weak, no longer dismissed, addressed the assembled representatives with authority and grace. "I made an error," Lysandra admitted to Kievan, standing beside him in the crowd. "I saw weakness where there was simply difference. I threw away what I should have treasured." Kievan's expression was diplomatic but firm. "You didn't throw her away, Your Majesty. You gave her the freedom to find where she truly belonged. I should thank you. But Elsa earned her place here through her own merit, not because you underestimated her." On the podium, Elsa spoke of cooperation, understanding, and the strength found in diversity. She caught Kievan's eye and smiled, a smile of someone who had found her purpose, her partner, and her power. Queen Lysandra would spend years trying to repair her relationship with her daughter. Some mistakes, she learned, carried consequences that no amount of royal authority could erase. But Elsa had long since moved beyond needing her mother's approval. She had found something better, a partnership built on respect, a love chosen freely, and the knowledge that her perceived weakness had always been strength wearing a different face. The weak princess had become the bridge between worlds, and the galaxy was better for it. The end.